Black marriage is love.
Black marriage is family.
Black marriage is faith.
Black marriage is good food.
Peace, everybody. Welcome to Dinner and a Podcast, where Black married couples discuss family, love, faith, and food for the soul. My name is Nafisa. I will be leading the podcast tonight, along with my co-hosts Nasib, Leanne, and Ijlal. How's everybody doing?
We're doing good, man. How about y'all?
Good. We're doing just great over here.
It's Friday,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, it's Friday. We're trying to get relaxed, trying to enjoy this evening and come into a beautiful weekend. So let's get started. So for tonight's Dinner and a Podcast, we will be breaking up our conversation into 3 courses. We have our appetizer, our main course, and our dessert. And with every course, we're just going to speak on some soul-reflecting questions. We have a little bit of sweet discussion, and then we're going to, come to a reflection at the end of the day of how we feel on the topic. Okay, so in honor of Mother's Day, our topic for this week will be Heaven Lies at the Feet of the Mother. I'll say that again. It's going to be Heaven Lies at the Feet of the Mother. So before we get into the topic, I'd like to start with talking about our beautiful menu tonight. So for myself, Nasi and I are having, for our appetizers, we are having in honor of the things that all of our mothers made for us. My mama was wonderful with her fried chicken. And so for tonight's appetizer, I'll start us off with our fried chicken wings with a side of dip sauce. And that will be followed with our main course, which in my household was very big with savory yellow rice. I have some black-eyed brown sugar peas, and I will also have some scallion muffins. And then to end the night off, my mother was a fan of coconut and lemon cake. And so I have made in her honor lemon coconut cake, and we will be getting into that towards the end of the meal. My table is not as wide, so you cannot see all of the menu, but I trust you will see every part as long as we get into the podcast. And on y'all's end, what are we having for dinner tonight?
I can almost smell the menu.
Right?
All night. Yeah. Before I get into that, what y'all drinking on over there?
Oh, yes, thank you very much. So for a beverage, my mother was very famous for her love of both seltzer water and ginger beers. So in honor of that, I had made a mash, and I've made my own fresh ginger soda. And that's what we're drinking tonight. Yes, freshly brewed over here.
Hey, okay. I love that. All right, so what we're getting into tonight in honor of Mother's Day, I have some very special mothers in my life. So I have like a little mashup of all the things that they love. So my great grandmother on every, holiday, major holiday, we had deviled eggs. So we got some of those for our appetizer. Our main course, we are having collard greens. That's in honor of my mother. She loves making greens, and she makes like the best greens by far. And then, of course, my great grandmother again, she made excellent red beans and rice, Creole style. So I have some red beans and rice here. And we have honey muffins, which are my favorite, and honey cornbread muffins, which that's all me there. So, and then my great grandmother also made for our drink, we have fruit punch. She always had fruit punch on the table. Yeah, so I made
to it. So I was like,
I made a homemade fruit punch here, and then for dessert we have a upside down pineapple cake.
Pineapple upside down.
I love
it.
Not
upside down pineapple cake.
So
Pineapple upside down.
No, it's upside down pineapple cake.
No, it's pineapple upside down.
Is
it pineapple upside down or upside down pineapple cake?
I plead the fifth, West Coast, East Coast, whatever it is.
So my family is from Louisiana, and it's upside down pineapple.
It's
pineapple.
She said it
okay.
Anyway, Google this, people. Google it, and you'll see that I am right.
This coming from the man who wasn't in the kitchen at all.
Exactly. We will not Google it. Okay.
How are you gonna say that? I was in the kitchen
Upside down
consistently.
pineapple is what it will be. And
Thank you.
we will enjoy the look of all of it. Thank you.
Yes.
Wait a second. I don't appreciate this team up. Good brother, Nasi. Is it pineapple upside down or upside down pineapple?
He ain't getting into that.
Answer.
I don't know, brother. I think it's pineapple upside down.
Thank you. Okay, we're good.
That's what it is.
Okay.
All right,
But-
appreciate it.
I don't know, man.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see.
I cannot.
All
All
right.
right. Well, let's get started. All right. Now that we've
Yeah,
had
please.
a thorough discussion of what to name the cakes. All right. So, to start off our appetizer question, we wanted to talk about what makes the makeup of a mother, particularly with the Black household. So, how impactful is the matriarch in a Black family home? For me, I'll start. I believe that a mother is every bit of a divine recipe in every household. And so, particularly in the Black community, moms are more than just the caretakers and the nurturers. Moms for a very long time, historically, moms were the teachers, the first teacher. And any and everything that those children learned, they came from the mother. Moms were the ones that made sure that, you knew how to care for yourself. The ones that made sure that you could express yourself, but also know how to handle being afraid, know how to handle any new emotion that may come upon your life. Your mother was always there. My mother was huge for making us all feel welcome. And I come from a family of 8 children. Okay. So everybody wanted to have their 5 minutes alone with mom. And I don't know how she
I got 10. I got 10, but anyway.
Of course. Sure. At no point in time did she ever make us feel like we weren't, her world and her universe. And I think moms have a superpower in making you feel like you are special, even though everybody's similar to you. Everyone's got something that, is not necessarily unique to them. But when it comes to your mother, anything that she tells you you can do, you automatically feel that you can do.
Right.
And so in the Black household, that is just so important because many of us don't get told that we are capable, that we can make things possible, that we can live our lives to the greatest standard without somebody knocking it down. And so Black moms are awesome. Black moms are awesome for everybody.
Yeah.
For everybody.
Everybody. Yeah.
And
I love that. I love how you said, you broke it down like they're a recipe. Like I love that. Like, like they're everything. A little dash of this and that. And, Black mothers are amazing. They truly, truly are.
I mean, interesting enough, when you think of soul food, when everybody thinks of soul food, the first thing that they put in their mind is this big, beautiful Black woman who was somebody's grandma, somebody's mama, somebody's nurturer. And so food from the soul is not just in our community. It's not just, good food that makes us feel happy. It's food that is ancestrally passed down from mother or father generation.
Right.
We realize that our Black mothers are special. We understand their importance. When we say what, like my wife just finished saying, who's our first teacher? Our mother. 9 out of 10 times, most of us, our fathers were out working long hours, weekends. Who was there to teach us? Our mothers. Who was there to cook for us? Our mothers. Who bathed us? Our mothers. Who dressed us? Our mothers. So everybody should understand, and we understand here, that the role of a Black woman in a household is crucial, because many times when a man is out, she is laying the foundation. She's laying the foundation for the kids' character, their morals, and how they're gonna, walk in their day-to-day life. So the Black woman in the household is crucial. And I would say to any man, be mindful who you pick to be a wife. Be very, very mindful, because she has the power to build your house up, and she definitely has the power to break it down and destroy it. So we know right now, a Black woman in our household and mothers, those who have stood the test of time, we have seen their strength, and y'all just got to listen to the rest of the podcast. We got so many powerful things to say, and if I keep talking, I'm going to go on a tantrum. So I'm going to stop right there at this moment. And one other side thing I just wanted to give in, and please, always to everybody, just acknowledge and respect the fact that our Black mothers, a lot of our sisters are dying today on the table. A lot of them are dying giving birth. So please give them the utmost respect, whether by C-section or natural birth. Respect them, because at the end of the day, when they give birth, there's a high chance they can lose their life. And that's why we say heaven lies at the door of your mother's feet, because every time a woman gives birth, there's a chance she could lose her life. And unfortunately, these days, a lot of our sisters are facing that.
That's very true. And I mean, it's amazing that you brought that up, because, I was just watching this beautiful documentary on Hulu Onyx, and it just covers, just particularly in New York alone, how many Black women lose their life on in giving childbirth. Apparently, the statistics is something like 12 to 1. Black women actually pass while giving birth. And in today's society, it doesn't even make any sense that should be the case. And every single time a statistic like this comes up, the majority of it is always wrapped around racial inequities, right? So, not only is it important, like you said, the beauty and the promise of a Black woman and a Black mother in a household, but, as an unfortunate continuality of our lives, many of the things that we have to do just to give, all of ourselves to have this beautiful baby, for us, it is highly, it's highly probable that it could lead to mortality. So you always have to respect that woman who you see, who manages to give birth to not just one, but 2 or 3 or more children. And, all the more props to the ones who manage to raise such beautiful kids, and they're doing this alone. They're doing this with or without a village, right? And that's the other thing about a Black woman. She's a part of that village,
In some cases, she is the village.
And she is, exactly.
A lot of cases, she's the village.
Yeah. So obviously we have to try our best to put it into words, but I don't think that you can't really sum it up, what a Black mother means. So the best thing you could do is just, look at how society relies on Black mothers, look at how society, and I'm not just talking about Black society, I'm talking about white society, everybody, how much they rely on Black mothers. And we'll delve more into that as we go on, but it's almost like, I don't know, like they're the foundation of where everything good starts. They're the support, they're the nurture, they're the I don't feel comfortable telling daddy. Okay, well, tell mommy.
Now, what does that mean? What does that mean for you? Because for some people, they'd be like, "What is that?" And I'm like, "No, explain what you mean."
So you're trying to keep it short because we're just getting into it. But in a lot of Black homes, for those of us who were raised with two parents in the house, a mother and a father, usually the father is the lead. Also, in him being the lead, he is the majority disciplinarian.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to that, it's like, look, you don't want to make the bear mad. So
Don't wake the bear.
yeah, don't wake the bear, right? So that's what mom's there for. Not to mention the fact that they also encompass balance so well. They're the ones who level it out. Once again, fathers can be very intense, and mothers are there to just smooth it out. I would have definitely lost my mind many times over, growing up with my father, whom I love. But alhamdulillah, praise Allah, that I had my mother to just soften that blow, to just do what mothers do, man. It's nothing that you both haven't said before, so I'm gonna go ahead and let Leanne sum up. But yeah, man. I mean, if you understand what foundation is, if you truly understand what foundation is as it relates to anything, then you have somewhat of an idea of just how important a Black mother is to a household. I mean,
that was awesome.
I do my thing, but thank you.
I thought that was great, especially the lead that you said about them being the soft cushion from daddy's discipline.
Right.
But at the same time, especially our mama was no pusher. Okay, so
oh yeah. I said he was the lead disciplinary.
Thank you.
Okay, because I still got some mama marks. I think still got them. Nah, I don't have no mama.
For me, Black mothers, Black women are essential to the woman I am today. So, if it not had been for the women that raised me, in my family, then I wouldn't be the mother I am today. So my mother, obviously, beautiful, beautiful woman. Hey, Mom.
You better. She going.
Yeah.
This is how she answers the phone whenever.
Whenever. Hey, Mom. Hey, Mom.
Like a 5-year-old kid.
Okay, but anyway, she was a single mother, so raising me and my sister. But I had so many other women, my grandmother and my great grandmother, aunties. They were all mothers, and they helped raise me. And if it hadn't been for them, I honestly don't know. I don't know where I would be. So they were essential for me. They were strong. I would say the women in my family are some of the most strongest women I've ever met in my life. My mother is very strong. And I tend to think I'm pretty strong as well. Just dealing with certain things. So, they pass their strength down to me, but they're also very compassionate, and they are, they have a lot of empathy. They're just, absolutely amazing.
Very strong.
Yeah, they're just,
physically strong too in your family.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The women are physically strong.
They knock dudes out.
They are physically strong. Physically. We'll get into more stories about that, but those women, men didn't play with the women in my family.
Miss Universe strong, or Clarissa Shields strong? What's the level of strong?
Clarissa Shields strong.
Oh.
In every essence.
Like,
Oh.
like I mean, like somebody will
Okay.
throw a vacuum at her, they'll catch it and they'll throw one back at you, like a whole vacuum. Like I actually witnessed that. Like, how do you catch a vacuum and then throw it back really quick?
Who's throwing
Like,
vacuums? What do you
I don't know why
do
people was
to get
throwing
a
vacuums.
vacuum
I don't
Oh.
even know.
vacuum at you?
I have stories.
And this is just
I
the
mean,
appetizer.
look,
Yeah.
shoes,
You want
purses,
No.
yardsticks, but a vacuum?
Child,
Wow.
No,
It-
whatever
there-
you
there's
got, you
plenty of
deserve to
stories.
throw a vacuum at you.
there are plenty of stories, but they, like I said, they're wonderful, beautiful, strong women. And if it had not been for them, I wouldn't be where I am today. Honestly, you know. So, yeah.
Okay, that's peace.
There you go.
That's
You know,
beautiful.
I think that's very powerful for us to say because
Yeah.
I mean, it is. We have to compete every day with these negative images
Exactly.
and these
Yeah.
negative stereotypes.
We don't say it enough to each other.
And it's everybody is put into this box,
Right.
And I can't even now I'm not even going to sit here and lie like I wasn't affected by that neither,
Mm.
because I will say yes, did I have a lot of negative experiences growing up with certain Black women? Absolutely. Did I have a
Yeah.
lot of positive experiences growing up? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We tend to focus so
On the
much
negative.
on the negative, right? I remember, before I met my wife, I was talking to her other brother, and he said she could be challenging.
Mm.
No. Not challenging. Intimidating.
Yes, yeah, right. And at first, dealing in the worlds I was dealing in, I was like, I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing. Because in one world, this meant we're gonna clash about everything for no apparent reason.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
In another world, that meant the sister had herself together and she was trying to find somebody that, would be her equal, where they could grow together.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so I just feel bad because I'm like, yo, you know what? I don't know what to expect.
Right.
And then more of me, unfortunately, was bracing for the negative.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, wow, and that was not the case. When I met her, I didn't feel she was even intimidated. I just felt like she knew what she wanted. She knew where she was going and she was going to move forward. And that was cool with me. But again, like that's where I was at in life. So I was ready to rock and roll. But
Right.
yeah, man, we got to really as we're doing today and just on a constant basis, really, really, really push and try to put this positive image out there because, I would say this because we're still in the appetizer. What a lot of us don't know, and I hear people doing this, if you constantly talking down about women, you got to understand, your sons are going to grow up, your daughters are going to grow up, right? And a lot of people don't understand, you cannot classify one gender as the worst thing walking. And then, when your kids are older, or your son, he doesn't look at a Black woman with no value. Or your daughter is treated less. So we got to stop pushing the envelope in such a negative way, because what we don't know is it's affecting us, it's affecting our generation, and it definitely is going to affect the generation to come.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And to double down on that, it's not just the focus on one gender, because we see this with so many men out here who unfortunately have a mic and a platform. And all they do all day long is talk about how bad the Black woman is and how Black mothers ain't worth ish. And they are fully and proudly committed to heterosexuality. So they are with women all day long. Now, it's the question and whether or not, one, you even like women. So why would I even bother listening to you right now? And then two, if you have had negative experiences with other Black women as a Black man, okay? Because we know in our community, we have so many issues when it comes to each other, from, colorism to the so-called intimidation. And this idea that one person's going to try to, master the other, no one's going to actually try to have equal ground. And I understand if that's what your reality has been, but that's your reality. It does not mean that that is what every single make of a Black woman will be when she walks down the street. And we, like you said, we are constantly battling the negative stereotypes. We're either the angry Black woman, or we're the uncommitted Black woman, or we're the Black mother who probably is on her 6th or 7th baby daddy. Like, it's consistently negative. And so, even what you said, like, you was prepared because, again, my brother misguidedly used this word to make you get tensed up. Like, oh, be ready for her.
Your brother meant it in the
Wow.
most positive,
but see,
respectful way.
I know my brother, so I know he didn't mean it bad, but words matter. And when it comes to us, unfortunately, as you already stated, the image is put up. We do it best to each other. We get down on each other harshly. Okay? So the image just goes up immediately. And by all rights, what that simply meant was I was willing to commit, but I knew what I wanted, I know what I didn't want, and I wasn't going to settle for less. That didn't make me someone that was going to be an aggressor, a challenger, too high onto her testosterone. All of these negative things that any Black woman who is really trying to climb and pursue any goal in her life will automatically put on. Automatically. And this does not happen for other races of women. And so there's a difference. That's your experience, that's your experience. But you don't sit here and paint the entire race of Black women as that, and it reflects on you. As you said, if our children constantly see us doubting each other, what are they going to believe about each other when they're trying to look for their own? They're not going to want to look to others that look like them, that share the culture.
Not the Black woman. Yep.
No.
They're not going to want to build with the Black mother at all.
Yeah.
Exactly. They're not going to want to, and it's just going to be filled with all of these, horrible untruths, and that's not fair. It's just not fair to the Black woman.
And what has to be understood, this just goes when it comes to anyone Black, but just especially for Black mothers, that you have to realize that everyone else is given the luxury of individualism. So if someone who's a mother who's non-Black does a thing, then it's just her.
Yep.
But when a Black mother does it, it's Black mother.
It's the whole community. Exactly.
And so when you're talking negatively about a Black mother, you have to understand the reality of the world and the way things are shaped. We're viewed as a collective, especially as it relates to something negative. So it's like, I think we definitely, as a people, need to make sure that we're always cognizant of that.
Yeah.
When we're talking about Black mothers, when we're talking about Black women, especially our women, that, hey, when you open up your mouth in public and you're talking about that woman who did you wrong, unfortunately, everyone else is going to see her as a representative of Black women, Black mothers, whatever. Exactly. So, that's a huge problem, and it would serve us well to understand the reality of things. Unfortunately, in life, we aren't free to do as everyone else is free to do. But yeah,
that was already deep. We only on the appetite.
I know. We on the appetite. So let's just keep it going. So we're back here now with our main course dishes, and this question is going to stem off from what we just finished talking about the Black matriarch and the Black household, and how she is viewed by not only her Black family, but by society, and how society appreciates or underappreciates the Black mother. And so what I want to know now is, how does the Black mother affect the Black community? What does the mother mean for not just her house, but for everybody who comes and passes through her way, that has ever had the support of her?
For us, we could go into so many things, man. But for us, There's so many, and I could touch on one. She becomes a hero because she's been the saving grace when the fathers were gone. Not all fathers were gone, but there were a great deal of fathers that was gone. Incarceration, murder, mental and emotional baggage that broke them down. So she's a hero. That's one way. We can definitely look at her, see her, and view her, and definitely value her because, man, so many of us, we didn't have nobody to talk to. We didn't have nobody to run to, and some of us didn't even have protectors, and they had to try to fill in all those shoes. So one of the things I would say is hero.
That's beautiful, man. Yeah, and that's so true for so many of us. There you go. Yeah, he gonna go save him right now. That's mine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Happy Mother's Day.
I get a break from the hero worship today.
Right. Right.
Well, yeah. Let me continue on, Fanasi. So, yeah. I mean, look, I disagree with that entirely. I come from the same upbringing as Ijlal over here, so again, we're related. This is my older brother, and no, I don't disagree. I have never known within my as far as I can go into my family tree, I've never known any of the Black women related in my personal family to not have their Black man by their side. I have had plenty of friends who I've come across and they've explained to me what it is like living with just their mom and them, and some of the hardships that they had to do, because most of them they had to be older than they should have been. They couldn't really have the level of childhood because the responsibilities of trying to do what mom needed you to do to help pick up the slack that she needed in order for both of y'all or all of y'all to get on the same track, was a lot. And at the same time, every single one of the women that I unfortunately had the pleasure of having in my life, who were raised by single Black mothers, there's adornment is it's not the greatest word, but it's the only word that I can really come up with, just how much they love and cherish their mom, and how much thing that really is about them, you could see it as a pure reflection off of her, right? And most of that looks, most of it looks strong, most of it looks determined. Unfortunately, it can go and can be characterized as arrogant, it can be characterized as the unwillingness to do things codependently. I think the term Miss Independent gets skewered when it comes to the Black mother and her Black daughters and all the other Black women that follow. Because unless it comes from Neo's song, we don't get any love when we are trying to be strong. And Black women are the epitome of strength, and I don't understand why anything else would honestly come out of that. And so for my mother, who was married to her husband, and her mother, who had long been married to her husband, and I've only known it one way, and that way, the greatest challenge that I see a lot of people struggle with now is what we are doing right here. This idea that not only are Black couples some type of unicorn, right? Which is insane. I don't even understand where that comes from. But to double down on that, this notion that okay, you're married, but how do you really make marriage work with a Black woman? And I remember when I was watching a clip of this podcast that Cameron has, which I don't really care for him, so I don't watch it. But it was a clip that he had, and he was talking to Ice Cube at the time, and he was asking Ice Cube, how did you make it all these years with your wife? Like, what does that even mean? I don't understand how somebody can be with another person for that long. And again, he's talking about another black woman that he loves. He's like, well, like, do you want to constantly be with somebody who doesn't understand you? That's your homie, that's your friend, that's your woman. I don't want no one else to have my woman. That's mine. And that's the men that I was around. They were men that they were 100% about, old school. This is, I run the house and I provide, and I want to be the provider, and I want the respect of a provider. Very true. But at no point in time were these women ever underloved. Were they ever mistreated? Were they ever given this notion of, he will never understand me and respect me, abuse? Every single one. My grandmother was loved by her husband, my grandfather, on both of my sides. My father loved my mother, okay, and still does, okay. And even though she is no longer with us, I will go to that man tomorrow and say anything remotely about his wife, and he will go into whole stories as if she's sitting right there.
Yep.
And as Lau pointed out, that was Mr. Discipline, okay. So, I think that it magnifies the beauty of the black woman when the black community is behind her, and when black men support black women. It's just, when we are purposefully punched at and allow ourselves to divide, it's not only ugly, but it completely changes the culture for everybody.
Yeah.
And so, that's my take on the power of black women in black communities.
Adding to that, I think that, as a black mother, you can't help but not only affect, excuse me.
Yeah, we gonna have to.
You all right, guys?
No, we're gonna keep that in. We're gonna keep that right in. That's how you know it was good. That's how you know it was good. That's how you know it was good when the air is thinking. So what was I saying? I think that the effect that black mothers have, not just in their home, but outside the home, it's almost inevitable, right? I mean, for black mothers, it's not something that you turn off and on. Once you are a black mother, you are a black mother. It's almost like your brain starts thinking a different way. You start looking at life a different way, and you start handling things in life differently. So that also goes as far as society. For my mother, like we were saying, she was that balance, for us. She was just such a easy person to come to, even when she was mad at you. So just so welcoming, so nice. But I mean, it's like, okay, well, that's your mother. Like, no, man, like my mother was just a nice person.
Yeah,
really.
She was
Beautiful spirit.
And the way when and what validated that was seeing how other people saw her.
Right.
It was almost a slight form of jealousy whenever I went to her classroom and I saw other kids
Uh-huh.
connecting with her as if she was their mother.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, dude, that's your teacher. That ain't your mama. That's mama. Okay? But you know,
But that's how we felt about our kids, though.
yeah.
In the class, they was our kids.
But I mean, I guess all teachers know that, right?
Yeah.
But you know, all jokes aside, that's who she was.
Mm.
You know, she was a welcoming person. What is a mother if she's not welcoming?
Yeah.
You know, she was a compassionate person. What is a mother if not compassionate?
Nurturing.
You know, and not just the children, her co-workers,
Right.
people
Yeah.
who knew her felt this way about her.
Yeah.
You know, it's because it wasn't a in-house persona. It was just who she was.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know who my mother was outside of her being my mother, right? When she was a non-mother, you know.
Yes, because we do have those moments. They do exist somewhere
Believe
out.
it or not, they were people before they were mothers, right? But that's the real unicorn. What are you talking about? You were born a mother. What are you talking about? You were never not a mother. But you know, like I just knew her as a mother, and I got to see the joy of how people reacted to her.
Mhm.
I got to see the joy of how people cherished her.
Yeah.
You know, not the same exact way I did, but as much as they could in the way that I did.
Mm.
And I think that that's, you know, that's the effect that Black mothers have. They take that nurturing persona, and then in the world will rely on it.
Yeah.
They will rely on it. I mean, those are all the good things I've stated. Going into the hateful things, you know, you got, you know, the colonizers and enslavers who understood what a Black mother was. So much so, just how important a Black mother was. And they had Black mothers raising their children.
Mm.
I mean, nothing else in the world can make you truly identify with just how important and how impactful and how precious a Black mother is when you can have a slave master take you and have you raise what's precious to them.
Yeah.
If that don't paint the best picture of maybe not the best picture, but if that doesn't paint a very good picture of how impactful Black mothers are to not just family but also society, I don't know what else does.
Yeah,
You know.
I'm sure.
But
That's for sure.
yeah, but there's an even deeper side, a communal side to that, which Leanne will definitely be able to get into because she experienced something that I saw glimpses of growing up.
Yeah. So, like I said, I have strong women in my family. My mother, she was a single mother. She raised me and my sister, pretty much alone by herself. My father, they divorced or separated when I was pretty young, very young. So I didn't get the opportunity to necessarily grow up with him in the home.
Mm-hmm.
However, I did see there were women in my family who definitely had their husbands. Like my grandmother was married to my grandfather for many, many years since I was a baby, up until adulthood when they both passed away. And they passed away probably within 6 months of each other. And my great grandmother, my great grandfather passed away when I was 1, but she never remarried after that. So that was her only husband, the only man she was ever with, and up until her passing, that was it. you know. So I did see, you know, have that beautiful depiction of, you know, families being together, even though my mom, you know, and my dad separated. But that didn't take anything away from us. My sister and I were very much loved. We have a beautiful relationship with our mother, because I mean, she was a single mother. She was, you know, doing everything in the household. I did have to help her because I'm the older sister. So me and my sister are 10 years apart. So I was definitely there to, you know, help my mother out when she was working. You know, dinner was on the table by the time she got home. I picked up my sister, you know, homework, you know, all those things that she couldn't necessarily do because she was working. And by the time she would get home from work, she would be extremely tired. So the one thing I wanted her, you know, wanted from my mother was to at least be able to rest. So I picked up a lot of things. I, you know, cooked, like I said, cleaned, and you know, helped with my sister. And I did that all the way up until I moved out here. Um, our relationship, my mother and I, we have such a strong bond. Like I said, if I don't talk to her every day, I feel kind of like, oh my gosh, like, right? Like I'm like, why haven't I talked to my mother today? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what is going on? But she understands, like, things happen in life. You know, I have all these kids here. So, and like just responsibilities.
You do have a lot of kids.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know why, but you got a lot of kids.
Stop it. You know, you know why.
You don't know why.
You know why.
But why this woman, whose man we shall not name, has all these children. Okay.
Has all these children. You know why. Anyway, but my mother, you know, she's literally outside of my husband, like my best friend. You know, I was always able to talk to my mother. I can come and tell my mother the truth anytime. She was just that kind of a mother, you know. I mean, she would definitely put me in my place and tell me I'm not her little friend or anything. I got that often, you know, I'm not your little friend, you know. So, but for me, she was my friend. You know what I'm saying? She was like, she would always say, I'm not your little friend, but I'm your best friend, right? Like, I'm like, what does that even mean, Mom? But as I got older,
that's a black mother saying for you right there.
But as I got older, I understood exactly what she meant. You know, like I understood that. Like, you know, yeah, okay, you weren't my friend, but you're absolutely right. You are my best friend. You are everything. And I was able to go to my mother and talk to her about any and everything. I mean, any and everything. And she was always open. It doesn't mean it was without consequence. Now that's, you know, something different. But I was able to, you know, tell the truth and be honest with her. You know, and we've always had that relationship. I can always talk to my mother and be honest with her. And I just love that about our relationship. Now, the communal part of my life, I grew up I have a huge family, and there is a lot of women in my family. And I spent, I would say, majority of my time growing up at my great-grandmother's house until she passed away. When she passed away, it was kind of like, you know, we didn't really go over there anymore. And she passed away when I was in 9th grade. I remember that day it's a very vivid day for me. But I spent all of my time, like, just with my cousins. You know, I learned how to cook from my great-grandmother. You know, I would pull up a stool and just watch her cook. And that's what I did. While everybody else played outside, I would just sit there and just watch her cook. Like, I absolutely loved her. But everybody loved her. Everybody in the community loved her. We lived, like, we called it the Avenues in California. Like, that's where we lived. And everybody on our street, maybe 2 blocks over, just knew who Miss Holden was. You know what I'm saying? everybody. They knew how good her food was. They, all these different things. And they can come over to her house, if they needed a plate of food, if they needed something, needed money, anything. If she had it, she would give. You know what I'm saying? The kids loved coming over because, sometimes it meant they might be able to have some dinner. She made the best fried chicken I've ever tasted in my life. Okay, like so much so it was delicious cold. I don't like cold food. Okay, but I would.
That's some good chicken.
Yeah, I would go into the refrigerator and just eat her fried chicken. It was just straight cold.
Everybody on the block knew about it, right?
Everybody on the block knew about it. So much so, they knew when she was cooking it. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, mama's cooking. And we called her mama. That's another thing.
Okay.
So we called her mama. My mother, obviously, that's my mom. And then I had my grandmother, that's Dee Dee. So we just called her grandmother Dee Dee. My great grandmother is mama. And then we had Big Mama, which is her mama. Mm-hmm. So that's how that went. And those were all the women. Mama really was I would say, everything to everybody in our family, just everything. So it was, as a community, we relied on her a lot. The people across the street relied on her. The neighbors, even though they were like the same age, Mama was just everything to our community.
And can we point that out really quick as it relates to, I mean, I don't know all cultures and things, but definitely Black culture. That's something that's very special. We will give certain names to grandmothers and great grandmothers. You have Mama, and that was your great grandmother that you called Mama, and everyone understood her to be Mama.
Everybody called her Mama.
Everybody called her Mama,
whether it was her grandchildren, whether it was aunties, uncles. It didn't matter. Everybody just called her Mama. My best friends called her Mama. Everybody called her Mama. There were maybe a few people on the block that called her Miss Holden. But for the most part, everybody called her Mama. Everybody really did. And that's just what they knew her as, just Mama. I mean, to be quite frank, she was everybody's Mama. I mean, I feel like a lot of people in the community, I'm not going to say they loved her as much as we did, but they loved her, like she was loved and respected in our community. Her funeral, there were so many people there from the community. Obviously our family is huge, but there was just the community, the people were there. And the way it just broke them down, you would think that they were her children or her grandchildren or her great grandchildren. So it was absolutely something that I strive to be, in my family. I would love to be that great grandma that my great grandchildren and just in the community that's really loved, respected, and well received by everyone. Like I said, she was Mama, and her mama was Big Mama. But she passed away when I was really young when she passed away. But everybody still knew her as Big Mama as well. So yeah, those names, they stick with us.
They stick with us.
And they're comforting, right?
Yeah, like, it's just something that we do. Like, for example, Angela Bassett is permanently known in the Black community now as auntie.
Yeah, and I know for my mom, her grandchildren, my children and my sister's children, she's known as Nana. So everybody calls her Nana. That's just what it is. All her grandchildren, she's Nana. So these names mean something. And it's interesting how they come about. Like, who who says it? You know, does the great grandmother or the mom say, "This is what I want you to call me," or you know, is it a child that just says, "This is what I feel comfortable calling you," and everybody else from then on picks it up? You know what I'm saying? So it's interesting to, you know, hear these names and how they come about, you know, and what they mean to everybody. You know,
it makes you wonder, when you think about the names, right? You know, certain people can have certain qualities, you know, even from childhood, and for her to be such a impactful person, it makes you wonder, like, did she just give off a very nurturing vibe even when she was a younger woman?
She was very nurturing. She was and strong too. Another very nurturing and strong woman. She had like this when she was younger. She also had like this older spirit to herself.
That's what I'm talking about.
So you know,
so it could have been.
I mean, her name was. It could have been her name too. Her name was Mabel Belzora. That's kind of old.
That's an old name. Yep.
Old other name, boy.
That's kind of old.
She was definitely destined for matriarchal
mama.
For mama, right?
That's for mama.
But like that. So it could have been something since she was a little girl, where it's just like, you know what? People just call her, just call her mama. You know, she always want to take care of you, and that,
in terms
that
of
possibly
culture, like, in our community, we say that all the time. You know, when we have somebody who is very young, but it can be our own kids, and be like, that's an old soul right there, and they're gonna be old souls forever.
Yeah.
You know, never quite act in their age, but it's just this idea that you're trying to, you know, you exude so much maturity, right? You see, just on the basis of that, in our community, that maturity is seen as a wholesome thing, as a good thing, you know. And unfortunately, when we talk about, once again, the Black woman or just the Black girl that will end up becoming that woman that will be a mother, you know, a Black girl's maturity is seen as something that can be negatively doused. It can be sexualized. It can be, you know, and incriminated. And for us, we have always been in a situation where we are expected to have a, you know, a non-shakable quality. We're expected to come and build everybody up. I mean, right now, all Black mothers and Black women alike are taking our rest, right? the 95% are taking our rest because we're tired of having to do what? Go out there and nurture everybody up, hold everybody together. And it's completely different connotation when it comes from people who value you. You know, because then you don't care if you're holding everybody up. But you want to. It's something that you want to do. It's something that we feel good about. You know, it's not something that you can feel good about when it's completely taken for granted over and over again.
Yeah.
You know? That's why I love it when you know, we say things in our culture like, Black love is beautiful, or I love us. You know, it's one very few people, and I've been around a lot of different cultures. They'll barely say stuff like that. Or I'll be talking to a whole bunch of Korean students, right? And I will never actually hear a similar connotation of that, where they'll all say, "Oh no, I'll just love us like Korean kids together." It's something that we just uniquely do, and we understand it as the knowledge of, I love that thing. That even throughout all of our nonsense, we have this thing that is communal. It keeps us together, and it's beautiful when it's like enacted in the right way at the right time. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
You know, so I just want to let everybody know right now, my beloved husband did me a wonderful solid and got the baby, because the baby was starting to act up. Because if I'm not, you know, as a mama, if I'm not up against him at every point in time, then his world is forever broken. So in honor of me being able to host this Mother's Day episode, my husband took him, and he's trying to keep him asleep, and it's a fight for his life right now. So he's stepped away.
Okay, well, thank you for holding it down for him.
Yes, absolutely.
So what was the next thing we were going to discuss?
Okay, so in terms of closing this out on, give me 1 second. In terms of closing this out, because we're about to get to our dessert portion now. And so far, everything was wonderful. It tasted great. Y'all's dishes look great. I see it. It allows another day of killing it. He killed it.
Yeah. Well,
It's
he's going
He
to
killed
leave his plate clean each and every time.
I mean, clean. I don't even think I see a crumb. It's
Each and every time. Okay.
it's-
He's
I'm
gonna
do
clean
it
the
on the
plate.
crowd. Okay.
What else am I supposed to do with the food?
He is gonna clean his plate because that's what he was taught when he was younger. Okay.
Yep.
That's right. That's what my mama taught me.
Mama didn't play
I said
around.
You eat everything on that plate.
You your flowers. Okay. That's all I
This
was
is
trying to do.
in honor of Mother's Day. I clean this. Every time I clean a
Alright.
plate, I'm honoring my mother. As a matter of fact.
I can't right now. So, a perfect segue out of this conversation. In terms of honoring our mother, now that we are at the dessert portion of our evening, I wanted to end off with a wonderful reflection on our moms personally. You know, we have been talking about mothers. And
You want to get the dessert?
I got my I was gonna.
Okay, let me just
Let me get it.
his. I'm not gonna eat this. It will just sit here right now, and I can't eat sweets this late.
Yeah,
I
see, I
can.
made my cakes in layers, so I just take a layer.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
What's going on here?
Yeah, they taped it like they didn't want you to get into it. You don't knock that down. What you got back there? Use it.
Because my grandmother made upside down pineapple cake, but I wasn't making none.
Pineapple upside down.
We about to.
Okay.
We about to.
No, we can do this later. We can do this later.
No.
Later.
I want the people to know. Okay.
They know.
They
They know.
gonna sit here and get territorial on a recipe name. You didn't even make it. Like, how you territorial?
That's got nothing to do with it. I know what it's supposed to be called.
No.
You dig what I said? I know what it's supposed to be. Okay? Supposed to. Now you know I'm talking the truth when I say supposed to.
You
You don't
get
know.
territorial.
I'm
Alright.
about
That's too much right there.
So
All right.
Hold on.
Go ahead, Nafisa.
All right. So we come to the dessert portion of our menus today, and in order to honor specifically our mothers at this part of the hour, I wanted to ask y'all in reflection of
It's
everything we
interesting.
talked about. How is your mother affected your life? What about everything that we've said so far has brought either fresh memories to your head about moments in which you really needed your mom, or just an overall observation and examination of what her life means or has meant to you?
I'm okay. I will start off with answering that, but I think Leanne just looked something up, and she has something to confess.
It's interesting because I did find that it is also called pineapple upside down cake, but
I'll tell you.
there is
Mhm.
it also can be called upside down pineapple cake.
Mhm.
And to be honest, I think the upside down pineapple cake is just a very southern black
Mhm. Mhm.
because I grew up with my grandma and them, calling it upside down pineapple
Don't
cake.
blame it on them.
Okay.
They're not here to defend themselves.
Okay.
You was wrong.
She ain't never said no pineapple upside down
You
cake.
was wrong.
Okay. She ain't
Anyway.
never said nothing like that.
Anyway,
Okay.
It does not.
thank you.
No, there's no thank you. You do not get brownie points. Okay.
Thank
Right?
you.
There is a reason. Well, I did not argue
Calm
with
down.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Calm down.
I'll gloat on
That's
the Father's Day
That's,
episode.
you don't give him an arm, okay? He'll
I'm
take the
sorry.
whole leg. You don't
Now,
do it.
he's making his own meal on Father's Day. That's what's going on.
I'm sorry. My bad. I'll be good.
See, With your mouth is got.
No, come on. No, that's just joke.
Wow, no.
Okay, all right, no.
No, that's your
So,
bag. You don't have to deal with it now.
So the reflection, I do.
Go ahead.
Unbelievable. Anyway, you don't want the cherry? On my plate, yes, I want the cherry. Anyway, I'm sorry. So, as I was saying, yeah.
Oh boy.
You know, what my mother meant to me, it's I can only answer that. Well, I feel I want to answer that the most effectively at 44.
43.
Well, excuse me. 40.
Age me.
Because I remember what she meant to me at 10. I remember what she meant to me at 20. But what she is meant to me in my life now. This is what she means to me, and I'll use an example, a situation that happened. I remember when I was younger, years ago, and Umi, that's mother in Arabic, and so that's what we called her.
Yeah.
Umi called me, and she was talking to me about something, and it was she was stating some issue or concern that she had about. I don't even remember what exactly it was. I just remember sitting in the car, getting ready to go in the house from work, and she's on the phone and she's talking to me about this. And I was, every time I think about it, I feel horrible. After she expressed what she expressed, I was just like, Umi, I'm so glad you called me about this, but I mean, Umi, this is a lot right now, and I remember, I kid you not, I said, Umi, I got my own stuff that I'm dealing with, and she, being Umi, okay, baby, you're right, I understand. Well, I didn't mean to burden you with anything. Thank you for listening, though. That was that. I had forgotten all about this conversation. And 5 years ago, I was back home. We had just finished making salat, and it was just us two sitting in the room. And this was after Fajr, the morning prayer. And we were just sitting in there talking until the sun was completely up. And she reminded me of this situation. She said, she told me about it, and you had said such and such. And I said, what? Now, this was years later. She said, oh, yeah, you said. I said, wait a minute, Umi, I said what to you? And she was like, oh, no, baby. It was before you were a little bit more refined than you're a little more refined now than you were then, And I was just like, Umi, I cannot. I don't remember this at all. Did I really say this to you? I was like, did I call you back? Like, what? I just left it like that? And, you didn't mean it, and you were going through something, and da-da-da-da. And I was just like, Umi, I am so sorry that I said that to you. Anyway, my point is, what my mother to me now, with 44, 43, is she's the thing that helped me mature. You know, she people more often than not tend to have good things to say about me if they meet me and know me. And I credit that, a lot of that, to her, her personality. You know, and I just, she's a large reason as to why I developed into the man that I am. And you know, what can I say? I mean, life would, I don't know what life would be, what life could have possibly even been without her. I don't know. But I'm very happy to have been blessed with a beautiful soul, you know, and to have called her my mother. Without her, I wouldn't have been able to have married my wife. I wouldn't have known how to properly treat my wife. A lot of the care that I give my wife, that I show my wife, is very much centered around what I think my mother would have wanted me to do. I see her and I see my mother in many ways, very much. And I guess that makes sense, right? Because, you know, you marry a woman, marry their mother, right? And women marry their father in ways, you know what I mean? So I see her, my mother, in a lot of things that my wife does, and because of that, I try to be as good to her, and as nice to her, and as caring to her as I would, and as I did with my mother. So I owe her, and she's my world, you know. So, and a lot of that credit, alhamdulillah, a lot of that credit goes to my mother. So I'm you know, that's who she has been for me. And I try to honor her as best as possible, by treating the mother of my children, you know, the way I would have treated her. And I don't know, it's just, like I said earlier, it's not, you know, for those of us out there who have known a good mother, especially those of us who've, you know, known a good mother and, you know, Allah has called them back, it's just, there's things that you can't put it into words.
No, you can't. But I think you said more than enough. I think you said everything. I mean, there's nothing else that you could possibly, you know, expound on, because I can hear it in your voice. I can see it in I can feel it in your hesitation. You don't want to say anything that would be less than how great she was.
Yeah.
And you know, like Leanne said earlier, my relationship with my mother, that's what she was to me. She wasn't just my mom. She was my best friend. And I say that with absolutely no apologies. Like I've said, I think in the episode before, I'm not somebody who likes people at all. I do not like people. And my mother was a people person. Okay, so she didn't know where that came from. She would always say, "There must be your father in you," because I don't know what to do with you. I'm just like, I'm
Must
so
be.
sorry, but I don't like them. Okay, and she was always trying to get me to, kind of understand how to make myself, um, pleasant and acceptable in terms of the image of what you know a female is supposed to be, in terms of what is to be pleasing and what is to be acceptable. And as the topic of this conversation, for Black women, this is a completely different field that we have to play, right? Because if we are too much of one thing, then we're completely labeled that for the rest of our lives. And she knew I didn't care for huge groups of friends. I never cared for entourages. I never cared to want to please somebody that did not make me feel good. It made no sense for me to, want to have to be pressured by peers. I didn't even understand what that crap meant. I would always drive me crazy. And, on the one side, she was always so happy about that, I guess, because she figured that I wouldn't have to, worry her in any terms. But at the same time, she was always worried that I would be lonely. Right. And I think that was the reason why once I got out of high school, she started to, call me more and make me come and do things with her more. And I think that was just her way of trying to safeguard this, like, because in her mind, I know you say you don't want friends and you don't care about this, but I think it's going to get to you at some point. You're going to start to feel it. Right. And that was that was the only woman who could get me to do things I absolutely did not want to do, put a smile on my face, go out and put my bag in my car and be like, all right, let's go and do this thing, right? Because I did not care to do it for anybody else. And I remember when I had my car before it got totaled. I used to have this Juke, and she labeled my car. Okay, again, I love my mother, heart and soul. This is the woman who I took care of to the best of my ability. Okay, up until the day she passed away. This woman would make me, as she has at all of her other children, some part of her, her serfdom. Okay, so in my level of serfdom, I was her Uber driver. That's just what I was. Okay, and so I Ubered her from her job back to the station, back to the house, or if she wanted some snacks, I had to go get her DoorDash. So I was everything. Okay, and I would come and pick her up, and every time that I would pick her up, she would always have this way where she would lovingly, give you compliments, but right under those compliments would be very well-dressed shade. I don't know how.
Black mamas can do that so well.
Well-dressed shade. It's just like, how do you do that? Because I haven't mastered it yet. I have not mastered it yet. I'm just like, she just insulted me. Like, like remember the episode where Dave Chappelle was like, damn, that was racist. Like he had to think about it for a minute. Okay? And every single time that I would come get her, and she was like, oh, you came. Oh, and she would call my car. She's like, oh, it's just a little ugly monkey. That's just what it is. I love it. It's such a cute little ugly thing. That's the every time. The cute little ugly thing. And I'm just like,
Such a cute little ugly thing.
I picked you up. I got you here on time. I brought you your favorite snacks. You sitting in the front seat. I pulled the car back so your legs would feel comfortable. But the entire time, I'm just so happy that I got a ride in the cute little ugly car. and
it
was an ugly car, though.
Shut up.
It's the fact that it's both cute and ugly.
It's cute and ugly. And every single time that I think, and like if I ever see a Juke on the street, I automatically think of those moments in my car with my mama, basically telling me about her day, telling me about what she did in class, while intravenously, throwing me shade about the car that she disapproved of. And it was little things like that where, I could say anything to my mother. She could say anything to me. And, and by anything, I mean everything with respect. We don't play that in my household. Okay.
Right.
It's
Absolutely.
my mama. Okay. There's no curse words.
My
There's
mama
no,
did not play. Yeah.
okay. So I can say things within reason. And it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter what it was. We had more of a, kind of a tag with each other in terms of our conversation, our humor. Even when she was complaining, she would always complain with me if my father was the topic of the day because he ticked her off with the music on the road or something of that nature, right? She couldn't just could not handle whatever the tunes were that week. I would be on the phone. I would be the one who took it all in, laughed with her about it, because she was never a person who complained. Like she would be annoyed. She'd be annoyed, and she would show you, or emphasize to you how really ticked off she may have been about something. But I can't word this any other way. It's very odd to say, but it did not come out as a complaint. And this woman, I knew her as not just my mother, but as I knew her as a girlfriend to others, as well as a teacher, beloved by all of these little kids and their parents, right? So I got to see so many facets of her, and at no point in time did she ever give reason to why, she may have had every right to be upset or angry or complain about something. She just always, I don't know, she always just kind of just found some way to not just, roll with it, but she was able to literally tie her camel and march forward in whatever it was. I don't know where she got it from, and my mother was
she was good at that.
Small woman, and you would never think that this something so immensely beautiful and strong could come in such this little tiny package. Okay?
Little tiny package.
It always amazed me. And so, when she passed away, it was a hole, that was just there. And it took some time for it to kind of, I would say, like, mend. But it's, it's never, I understand when people say now, like, that's never going to be full again. I get that. I don't expect it to, and you expect to go on and to move forward and to bring that which they gave you along in yourself so you can give it to your kids. And there are times that I really wish I had these conversations with her in more depth, because sometimes I feel like it's strange. It's like when you lose someone, you feel like you didn't know them, but when you sit down here and really start thinking, you knew them very well. But it's like something's, you just wish you had more, And I try to be that for my kids, and I pray that I am that for them. And even though
you will be,
right? And I see, I remember when we used to come home and we'd all just in turn run up to her, and we'd be under her arm, or we'd be sitting on top of her legs, or we'd be picking and prodding, and she would just get so freaking annoyed and she'd be hot. She'd be like, just go, like, what do you want, and what is it, what can I do for you? And we were just like, Mom, I just want nothing. I just want to kind of touch you and just sit here, and what do you want? And it used to make me laugh because I just loved to see her reaction, because I used to love to just bother her. That was the highlight of my day. And now I just like, I feel so bad because I'm like, I'm sorry, Mama. I didn't realize
As your children, huh?
this was
I didn't know.
how I do. And it's like, it won't leave me alone. You know, and it just won't leave me alone. And I try. Like, I'd be sitting there not trying to take it out on my oldest. And I'm just like, dude, like, what do you want? And he will literally just come up to me and he'll just start sniffing. I'm just like, what are you sniffing? What is
That's
it?
not like.
It's so great.
You know, and he was just sitting there just like, no, Mommy, you know, I just love you, Mommy. And I'm just like, okay, so, you know, I don't like that. You know, see that right there? You giving me all this love and compliment. Come on, what am I supposed to do with that? Send you away? And I want you to leave. Like, just let me breathe. All right? And it would make me laugh because I could remember me doing the exact same thing. I can remember my 10-year-old self doing the exact same thing to my mama. And, you know, it's just, it's a wonderful blessing. And I would never, ever want to, you know, rewind the clock so that I can, you know, live it all over again. It's not something that I would want to have to repeat, but it's wonderful when your mother is a true foundation and a center in your life. And it's so much harder when she's gone. But, you know, yeah, that's what this Mother's Day means, because, you know, I am a mother, so I get to enjoy the effects of Mother's Day, but my Mother's Day is always hard, and it's never going to be light, because I remember doing, on Mother's Day, we would annually throw my mother brunches and take her to spa days, and to this day, I have never been back to the spa because I go with my mother every year, and it's hard for me to actually do it because it's those memories. There's an imprint. There's a person that was always there, and they're not there. So, yeah, it's one of those things.
Well, just before I talk about my mother, I just want to say about Umi, you guys' mother. My mother, she was, you know, they never met each other. I think your parents might have saw my father in passing.
Yes.
But they never met my they never met my mother. And I wish those two could have met many, many years ago, because my mom's way, you know, on the other side, and they just never had the opportunity. But whenever she would ask, because, you know, I'm precious to my mother, so, you know, as daughters, inshallah, usually are, she would always ask about my relationship with your mother. And how do I think, like, you know, what do I think about her? And I would tell my mom, I know I've told you guys this before, and I would say, you know, Mom, if you do not like, you know, my husband's mother, or I would just say, you know, it's loud, or, you know, you do not like his mother, then something is wrong with you. Because she is that
I couldn't do it.
That wonderful. I know that my mother was all the way across on the other side, and, you know, and there were just certain things, just as my mother, me and her can always talk, but, you know, me being Muslim, you know, I can only explain to her certain things, and she would never really deeply understand it because she's not Muslim, you know. But I can always talk to you guys' mother. I can always call her for advice. You know, whether it was just about Islam, you know, being a wife and a mother, being his wife because that's her son, you know. And she's greatly missed by us all, obviously. And just outside of my mother, and I've had plenty of mothers in my life, I was blessed to have her as an additional mother in my life. So I think that was truly a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to to have been able to share, I guess, those conversations with her, the same space with her sometimes, and just, having her invite me in so lovingly. From the first moment we met, I adored her, to be quite frank, so.
You had conversations with her that I didn't even know you had.
Yeah, I would have conversations, because.
Oh no, you wouldn't know. Mommy was very discreet.
Yes, she was very discreet, but I would call her, with advice, just on how to be a better wife to him, because she raised him, and she knows him. Outside of me, who else knows him better? You know what I'm saying? So it was just another, just saying, hey, Umi, I'm trying to understand this about him, because he's also his father's son. So, there's different things, you just have to learn. And she was essential, I think, in our early stages of marriage, having those conversations with her, just to understand certain things. So, very beautiful woman. Alhamdulillah, may Allah be pleased with her. My mother, like I said, my best friend, I love her. My mother is she's just a joy.
She really is.
She is like a joy to be around. She's fun, she's like, whenever somebody's like, I know he mentioned like, they label Black women as loud and whatnot, but not loud in the sense like, like mean or anything like that. But she's just fun. She's loud, fun, wild, joyous. I'm more reserved. I'm always been like the more reserved daughter. Like, my sister Tracy is similar to her in personality. So just, having her in my life, just as, just having fun. It was kind of like she always was like, break out of your little shell. You know what I'm saying? She would always push me to, just break out of my little shell a little bit, be more confident, and, like I said, she's strong. I don't know any other woman that's as strong as her, except for the women who raised her mother, my great grandmother, she's just, that woman that, she's supportive, I wouldn't be out here, She was so supportive of, me, just being Muslim and taking my Shahada and then coming here to the East Coast to marry, it's wow. So, she always has this saying, if you like it, I love it, Now, that can mean a couple of things now. Okay, so it could mean, my mom was big on sayings, okay, like, well, I was saying something and he was like, who said that? And I was like, my mom. Remember that? Because my mom,
I forgot what it was.
She is so big on sayings. He was like, who you think came up with that? And I was like, my mom. Like, child, she comes up with like some of the craziest things. But she always would say, if you like it, I love it. And whenever I tell her something, but that's her way of showing support. It was, it can mean two different things in the Black household. It can definitely mean like, if you like it, I love it. In fact,
I really don't like it.
I really hate it. You know what I'm saying? But not for her. For her, it was like, okay, look, if you like it, I love it. I'm going to support you. How can I support you? What can I do? You know what I'm saying? And she's always been that way. She's always been so supportive of what I wanted to do in life. The way I moved, she was just always there to support. Her relationship with her mother was very different from that. So I think that's why she was very supportive of me and my sister, and trying to let us accomplish the things that we wanted in life. As she got older and as my grandmother got older, their relationship became really tight. But before it wasn't like that. So I think her approach to her two girls was very different, and how she mothered us, and what we learned as mothers from her, you know, to be supportive of our children. My mother's very loving of, you know, her girls. That's all she had, you know, like, so she's very loving of us to, you know, we're like her world, and she would do anything for her daughters, like just anything. And she's always been that way, you know, whether it was just working hard. I didn't want for anything, even though I was in a single parent household. You know, you would think I had both parents in the house. You would think that, you know, she was rich and had a ton of money. For some reason, you know, Access Law, I was like, I mean,
Ridiculous. Every 2 seconds. Yep, I had that.
I had that.
I've been to Disney World? Yeah.
Yes, I went to Disney World, but it was like because she worked really hard to allow for me to have those things. You know, that was her, you know, that was her way of saying, like, you know, I want you to be able to do things that I didn't necessarily get to do. And even though you don't have your father here, you're not going to miss out on things, you know, especially with me and my sister. So, you know, I think I'm like that with my kids. You know what I'm saying? I show them a lot of love, a lot. You know what I'm saying? And
you are like that with your kids.
And she wants, like my mom always wanted to do things for us. You know, she was very much like that, and I think I'm very much like that with my children.
They be getting on my nerves too. I'm like, look, they don't need that, okay?
You know, I want to give them, you know, the world if I could. You know what I'm saying? And I guess she's still like that, you know. She's very much like that. But I feel like I switched the roles with her now, because I'm like, Mom, you know, it's my turn to shower you with all these beautiful things. You know, you've done so much for me. So, you know, now I get to do those things and for her, you know, even though I'm far away, you know. So she means everything to me. Like I said, she's my best friend. I don't know where I would be without her, because she quite literally was my world for so long. That's it, you know. And when you're raised in a single parent household, it's just you guys, you know. It's just your mom, you know, and, you know, maybe your siblings or a sibling, you know, and that's all you have. And she was there to comfort me in those times where I didn't quite understand why my dad wasn't there, you know, which was sometimes a little hard. But she was always there to get me to understand and to help me through that. So, you know, like I said, my mom she's just everything. She's wonderful. Yeah.
Oh man, that's beautiful. It's such a wonderful thing, and I'm loving just how introspective and reflective everybody's been able to be, you know. And sometimes, I don't know, you take for granted the little things that you don't even think about, you know, like the conversations that you don't remember even having, and then years later they pop up brand new. Moments that you share, you know, even a little certain commentary that is just between you, you know. It's nice to have more beautiful things in our lives when we talk about our parents, particularly moms, for Mother's Day, and just be able to kind of soak it in, as opposed to dwelling on anything that is negative and not necessarily gainful in your life. And I can't say anything that would be less than honorable in terms of gain when it comes to my mom and what she meant to me, to us, and to everybody around her. And I think that is the goal. Talk about, you know, the title matriarchy, right? I think that's the goal, is to definitely establish yourself as, you know, the queen of the chessboard, that nothing can move and everything is really surrounded about how you work the different fabrics of your tree and your lineage, right?
Yeah.
Because so much of what I'm hearing at this table is that, you know, if we take our moms out, our lives are expeditiously different. There's no real way of actually kind of creating that, you know, on canvas what it would look like. I have no idea what it would look like. That's how influential and important, that's how much of a survival necessity that my mother was. I have no idea what I would be doing. I have no idea who I would be married to. You know, as we spoke in the last episode, she was very instrumental in my marriage.
Yeah.
I have no idea what my life would look like right now if she wasn't there.
Yeah.
And I think that is the summation of this wonderful podcast, and just how beautiful it is to have mom and to thank mom for being who she is and to never take her for granted. And most especially, you know, for us, our mothers are more than just, you know, the physical connectors to this world. We are a very, Black people for the majority, are very spiritual people, and we are spiritually, soulfully connected to what, you know, motherhood means.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you see so many of us, you know, immediately the whole, you know, always thank your mother time and time again pass. That digs something deeper in our community.
Yeah.
You can't go through anything if you don't remember your mom. That's like one of the greatest sins you could possibly commit. Is not your mom.
Yeah. That makes me think of this hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I'm not going to say it verbatim, but he was asked, I can't remember if it was by one of his companions or by someone else, another believer, but he was asked who was more deserving of his love. And he said, your mother. And he said, well, then who? And he said, your mother. And then he said, then who? And he said, your mother. And then he said, then who? He said, then your father. And so mothers are very, in Islam, our belief, they are held in a high regard, the mother. Not just because of, I know a lot of people tend to just believe in the birthing process, but it's all the things from just the initial moment that baby goes into the womb until, she leaves the earth. Yeah. The mother is she has to nurture the baby while in the womb. She's sick. She's in pain sometimes. Her body is changing. If you ever seen what the body looks like, the organs look like on the inside of a woman when she's pregnant, it's amazing that we're still alive and breathing. Because I've had moments when I said to myself, like, I can't breathe right now. I'm struggling here. But it's that. And then from the moment that baby, we realize the conception of the baby, like the baby is there, we're worried. I'm never not going to worry about my children. It will never happen. It will never happen. I have a 22-year-old, and I was literally texting him last night as though he's not a grown man. Okay, that he got home, and then he didn't answer me.
He's 22. I'm so
I know, right? And then he didn't answer me, so I was like, "Hello, sir. Did you make it home last night? Like, I mean, what's happening? You said you were out. I need to know." Okay, but I'm constantly going to worry. I'm going to worry about them. And then we don't even want to talk about the birthing process. That's a whole nother, thing, like Miriam, she said she had wished to die. Okay, death was better for her than bringing a baby into the world. That's how much it was. It's a lot, you know. And then just to raise them, just to mother them. Mothering is the most beautiful experience you can ever have, but it's also very hard. And it's not hard because our children are doing things. It's hard because it's like
it doesn't end. It's nonstop.
It's not. It doesn't. And it's. My dad would tell me all the time, "You're a father from the moment you wake up until you go to sleep. A mother is a mother, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days, constantly. When the kids wake up, they don't go to his side of the bed.
Nope,
They
never
go to
do.
mine. They go to mine. Okay.
You know why? Because I'll send them right back to their room.
Okay.
But that's the thing. And that's why you have to honor your mother. She's not going to do that. She's going to always care for you. Always. She's not going to send you back here. Father, man, you better, I don't even know why you got 5 seconds to get out my face.
You know, his father said, you know, men won't say this. He said, but it's something in us will hesitate. He said, so if a mother sees her child about to get run over, she's going to dart out in the middle of the street very quick. It's not going to even be a thought. The father, for a quick second, might think about something. Just a thought. It doesn't mean he won't dive in front of the car, but we're so like, I'm just going to go.
It's sacrifice.
Yeah, I'm just going to go. But that's who we are. We sacrifice.
Yeah.
My mother, she sacrificed. Her mother, she sacrificed. My great-grandmother sacrificed. You know, I sacrifice. That's just what we do. You know what I'm saying? So because of that, that's why Jenna lies at the feet of the mother.
Yeah.
For all those beautiful reasons.
No one is ever going to
I'm sorry.
Care for you like your mother.
I love my husband, and he can say I love my children, and I would say you do, but you don't love them more than I do.
No.
You're not
even arguing that. You're not even arguing.
You can't argue it because it's like you wouldn't even know what it. From the moment that baby was inside me, that feeling is just something. It's different. You know, it's different. Yeah. It doesn't mean that he doesn't love his children more than anything in the world. He does. It's just like, you just would never understand what a mother's love is. A mother's love is very different. It's a very beautiful and a powerful thing. It's a powerful thing. A mother's love.
It's an instant connection.
It's an instant connection.
Yeah.
A bond, just something beautiful. And that's why, like we said, why we named this podcast tonight so lovingly, Jenna lies at the feet of the mother, because it truly, truly does. For so many reasons.
Jenna, making sure we cover this now. Jenna meaning paradise.
Paradise. Yes.
Like the gates to paradise.
My mother is not Muslim. I make dua for her every day. But that doesn't matter. She's still my mother.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter if she was the most exceptional mother or if she wasn't a particularly wonderful mother. My mother didn't have a particularly wonderful relationship with her mother. But on my grandmother's deathbed, my mother was there to braid her hair, to wash her body, to do her nails, because that's what my grandmother wanted. My grandmother was very, very.
She was a diva.
Very diva, okay? I mean, when she entered the room, there was smoke, glitter, and things that followed her, and wind. She created wind when she entered rooms. I'm not kidding. This is what people saw when she entered.
Everybody wants the Disney princess effect, okay?
Yeah.
She just lived with it, right?
She was more than Disney princess, okay? She was everything, okay? And she even through their relationship from earlier on, she was there to braid her mother's hair, to brush it, to paint her nails, because that's what my grandmother wanted, to whisper to her how much she loved her. And she loved her mother till this day. even though they, the relationship they had wasn't the best.
Mm-hmm.
She cries every birthday that passes that her mother is not here. So just saying that, then just knowing that your mother, I know there's a lot of women out there and men that may not have the best relationship with their mother, but I would say that for the Muslim, we know as a Muslim, that's not what that means. It means that exactly that your mother, no matter what, no matter what the relationship is, your mother deserves your respect and your love.
What they have done for you, you can never repay.
You can never repay. They brought you into the world. Just from that, you can never repay. They held you in their body. You can never repay it.
While they suck the life out of
me. While they like, child, because some of those pregnancies I was looking rough. Okay, I was like, child, Suleiman, it was.
He was looking rough. Well, the last days was Suleiman. Yeah,
Suleiman, I was looking rough, child.
It was bad.
Woo, child.
You weren't looking rough, baby. You just didn't care. Those last few days, you ain't care about nothing.
Not enough.
It was, and I wasn't gonna say Jack. I was like, "No, you good, baby. Don't worry about it."
But
you don't know what that is.
But just so alhamdulillah for our mother, alhamdulillah for their mothers and the mothers that came before them, and we honor them, each and every one of them, because without them, we wouldn't have the beautiful mothers we have, and without our mothers, we wouldn't be I certainly wouldn't be, and I know Nafisa wouldn't be the beautiful mothers we are.
Yep.
And he wouldn't be the man he is.
Yep.
So, alhamdulillah for them all. May Allah be pleased with them all. May Allah guide those, my mother, inshallah.
Oh.
Ameen.
Happy Mother's Day.
Yes.
Ameen.
Yes. Happy Mother's Day, beautiful mother. Yeah.
All of those in the world that are able to join in us on this day, and I hope and pray that y'all got a great deal out of this wonderful episode about our mothers and what it means to have mothers in our lives on Mother's Day. And I pray that everybody around the world, blessed be to all of y'all for really taking the time to do a little extra for Mom, because she deserves it. Even if she makes you angry at sometimes, if you don't quite understand. It's a lot, and it is a heavy price and toll to be a mom, as opposed to, taking the choice to just be with oneself. This is truly a sacrifice in every sense of the word when you are a mother. And I thank you both for joining me today so that we could have this conversation. It was a really great one, because I didn't know so much in depth about Leanne's mother and her grandmother, and these are all such wonderful, relatable stories to actually hear out loud. I didn't know that, Ijlal, about you and Leanne's conversation, and it's always nice to, see someone that you know personally yourself for so many years, but out of somebody else's eyes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and shout out to Mama Nasi.
Yes.
Holding it down.
Yes, shout out to her. And I pray that she is not too upset when she sees this episode that she couldn't get her dabs. but you are loved, and we love and appreciate you every single day. And that is all for this episode. We're gonna wrap this up now, and I want to thank everybody for joining us on this evening for a dinner and a podcast. We hope all of you loved everything that we said, and if you ever have anything to reflect on, please leave us some comments below. Like and subscribe on all platforms, and just take the time to consider every single thing that you do in your life, because it does have meaning. You do have purpose, and you put your purpose in those things forward. Anything is possible. We are the establishment of everything great. We are the culture. So never underestimate the beauty and the power of Black couples, Black families, Black love. And remember to build on that legacy and always eat good while doing it, y'all. So y'all have a good night and we thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.